And then I ended up at Stripe after that. And Stripe was pretty fun. I was a staff engineer, but it was just also the hustle culture and the stress of that job was just not really worth it for me. Like it's like absolutely
Mm,
zero work life balance. And at that point, just I'm just at a point in my career where like I want to work hard. I do work hard naturally, right? So you have person like me who's like a hard worker, and then
right.
you add in the like, oh my god, people can fake collaborating but
Mm,
competing, kind of culture, which and just I hate to say this as well. I don't really talk about this publicly, but I definitely also experience like a fair level of toxicity from coworkers
hmm.
in that role, and so it was just it was just like, okay, not worth it.
No
I
bueno.
actually I had multiple offers when I joined Stripe, right? Like literally. So
So you picked Stripe. You had these were the good days, right? When like you could just line
oh
up
yeah,
offers and you were lining them up, and good for you. So
well,
Stripe was
yeah.
obviously an attractive, especially from the outside. It's an attractive place to work. I'm sure the compensation was great. The
Mm-hmm.
tech problems are interesting,
Very
but
much.
yeah, the hustle culture is certainly still
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So then you left Stripe, and then what?
So then, yeah, I was being, I had, like I said, I had lots of offers, and I was like, okay, well, I need to optimize for, just being at Stripe. I was like, oh my God, this is like, Stripe had a little bit of a Peter Pan syndrome. And I can't take credit for that. I won't name the person who came up with that, but it was so accurate. Peter Pan being like, doesn't really want to grow up. Like it was this massive company that still
Yeah.
tried to act small. And that caused a lot of problems.
Mm.
And so, yeah. So, like,
That's interesting because GitHub was like that for a while,
oh my
where
gosh.
they had this like engineering, not just engineering led, but like engineers do what they want culture, and it was really cool and attracted great engineers at the
Right.
start. And I remember Zach Holman, who's an early GitHubber, who was like on the conference scene going around talking about like this new style of company, which is like engineering led, and you work on what you want to, and it's all like the stuff that we want to hear. And that didn't scale. I mean, it's no surprise, but it was like as GitHub grew, that just wasn't going to work anymore. And GitHub, to their credit, and Chris Wanstroth and Tom Preston Warner and the other leaders inside GitHub that started it, they actually did grow up. I mean, they decided to make changes, and some of those changes were hard, and some were better than others, and mishandled. And of course, there were all kinds of issues along the way. But GitHub did grow up, and then it grew up so much that now it's like Microsoft bought it, and now it's like as grown up as you could possibly be. I think probably to its dismay at this point, but they had that to start, but then they actually, I think, realized it. They're like, this is not going to last. And maybe it's interesting that, at least when you were at Stripe, that culture had still existed there. And I'm wondering if it's holding them back.
Yeah, I think your hypothesis is and your question comment at the end was like very on point. I do think it
Mm-hmm.
is holding them back in many ways, and like yeah, we haven't seen an IPO for many reasons. Like
Yeah.
when I was there, it was like IPO in 2 months, two
I'm
months.
pretty sure there's a lots of people that would love to see that IPO happen.
Oh my God, it was like, yeah, expected to be the biggest. I mean, when I joined Stripe, it was the most valuable VC backed company in the world. Like I think it was like almost 100 billion valuation or something mad,
Mm-hmm.
like wild like that. And just there's so many great things about the product, the company, the ethos. I think, but yeah, definitely like needs a heavy dose of grown up on many levels. And I'll just kind of like leave it at that.
Sure. So where'd you head after Stripe then?
So after Stripe, I was like optimizing.